biggest cards. You always, people just love those cards. My tower card, if I sell any prints of that this year when I start doing cons, I'm gonna laugh because that's the one where the cat is humping in the cat tree and then little, stuffed mice are falling out. We'll see how that goes.
Well, people, I've started the camera. Believe it or not, you're watching Epic Sketch Time. Epic Sketch Time is an online drawing group. I honestly tried to rig this up for us to do every week. Last week I failed. This week I'm sort of there on time. Anyway, we're currently meeting Tuesdays, 4:30 Pacific time. Feel free to contact me directly. My contact link is in the doobly-doo down below. You can also sign up by our Facebook group. You'll find a link that should be pinned up at the top to a sign-up sheet. I think I have the sign-up sheet in the link below, as well as or just direct message me. Signing up by Eventbrite is a hit or miss proposition because half the time I remember to do the event announcements and the other time I flake. So apparently this is the year of the flake. And earlier today, I was in Seattle taking my wife to the dentist just for a cleaning, but we stopped by Wajimaya, picked up some yummy things to have when we got home, had a late lunch. Then I went for a walk with my neighbor, and now I'm looking around for my iPad, kind of wondering, okay, I had it in the car. Oh, there it is. So I rewatched an old horror movie over the weekend, and it was The Faculty. Came out in 1996, before cell phones were really a thing. And since then, so many of these actors and actresses have gone on to great things. Jon Stewart was a teacher in this thing. There was Elijah Wood, was the dorky student who was getting beat up all the time. Just one character after them, I'm kind of going, wow, they went on to have a career. Wow, they went on to have a career. And then I'm listening to this movie, realizing they're making movie references to other movies of the time period. And I'm kind of going, those movies weren't so old then. And now I'm thinking, but they were used in this old movie. Oh my God, this movie's old. And I'm thinking, yeah, this movie's over 25 years old. Mm-hmm. And now I'm in Procreate. I'm going to show you guys the dilemma that I'm having in Procreate. Let's see. I'm going to make this so that's shared to multiple participants. Let's see. Oh, you hit that button first. Okay, so here is my guy. And I have one layer that I imported as black, but then I resize it. And as you can see, I got some rasterization on that black layer when it came in. And I could spend a lot of time just going in and erasing these rasters with my eraser, but that seems, I mean, I got so much lines and that's going to take so long to do. I'm wondering if maybe there's a control. Uh, Bill, do you know of a shortcut around to get rid of that gray rasterization on the edge?
Nothing like, nothing that it hasn't come up with me before. I suppose one of the blur tools might,
No, I'm thinking, I don't want to blur, the whole thing about getting, I want it as crisp as possible,
yeah,
not more
definitely.
blurry. So I'm wondering, I can't do an alpha lock. Going to turn off the reference on it.
Okay, I'm looking.
Wondering if I can do a command on the layer.
Here's a video called "No More Pixelation or Blurry Procreate Files. Convert to SVG."
That's converting it to SVG after you've created the image.
Uh-huh.
That's, I'm trying to fix
Resolution
something.
loss when moving objects. Procreate.
Let's see.
Did you resize it?
Yeah, this was resized. This
Huh.
went from being large to smaller.
It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't be a problem in that direction. Did you? You didn't try importing the image a second time by any chance?
Well, when I imported it in, I then reduced it down. I had to import it in instead of of course, whenever you import in an image, you can't import a BMP. You have to import a PNG.
Right.
And when I did that and reduced it down, I got this.
Did you try making a smaller copy in your original computer before you imported it?
No, I didn't, because I didn't think that would be an issue, but apparently it is. So, but since I have this, not only this file, but other files as well that I have imported that I have this problem with. So I'm hoping I can figure out a solution other than manually going in. I wonder if I can.
Because all of the things I'm seeing here, all the suggestions I'm seeing right now assumes that you're expanding.
Well, let's see, when I do sharpen, it really sharpens up. It makes them less grayscale. I wonder if I, well, at least that makes me see them more. I don't like that though. Let me undo that, sharpen, undo. Try a different command. There's feathering. Don't want to feather it. Well, I'm going to mess around with things off camera, see what I can come up with.
Okay. Oh, if anybody's interested, back to the tarot question, I stumbled over a guy on Reddit the other day who was doing a really good series. I put the link to his Instagram in the chat.
Thank you. I remember when The Faculty came out, you know, I really, and you know, I was a junior in high school when that movie came out. And you know, that's one of the, to me, the 90s is one of those decades where there are just a couple movies that really were, there's a lot of movies that we just don't, they're not classics. There's a lot of horror movies that are just not classics.
Mhm.
I don't know how else to say it. I mean, people love The Craft, they love Scream. I've never really heard a lot of fans at horror conventions talk about movies like The Faculty. And really I haven't thought about it that much. There was one that actually is really funny because, you know, I've been a horror fan since I was a wee child, and I remember, I think I was going into my junior year of college. It might have been my freshman to sophomore, but there was a movie called Disturbing Behavior that I went to watch with some friends, and I went to watch with a friend who is a huge horror fan too. We literally laughed through the whole movie out loud. And people were like turning around and looking at us. But there are the to someone who's watched a lot of horror movies, that movie is just goofy as you know what. Because it's just absurd. It's extremely silly. And
Was it intentionally so, or?
I don't know, but to me, some of the dialogue were just zingers. Like it was like somebody gave someone a job and they were like, yeah, I don't really want this job, so I'm gonna intentionally make all this dialogue, you know, over dramatic and put these zingers in here that if you're a hardcore horror fan, you're just gonna laugh your butt at. And
Oh,
then if you're not, then you're gonna take this seriously. And so like we just laughed through that whole freaking movie. It
so
and people
kind of like Starship Troopers, where Verhoeven hated thought the book was fascist propaganda, so he turned it into a satire and nobody got the joke.
yeah, that is probably yes. I think that would be a fair assessment. But yeah, that was definitely one of the underrated movies of the 90s. There's another one that's a werewolf movie, which there is a screenshot from that movie that I actually want. It's another tongue-in-cheek one. The Curse, and it has Christina Ricci
Oh, I
and
love The Curse.
I mean, there is like the most iconic moment in that movie when she breaks out into a werewolf and then jumps up and then like flips Christina Ricci off and then goes out the window. Oh my God, that was hilarious. And I would love to paint that someday. I just haven't had time. But yes, The Curse is a fun movie too, but it is another kind of like 90s can't I don't know that we should take this movie very seriously movie, you know? We've been watching, well, we finally watched Everything Everywhere All at Once this weekend.
Awesome.
Yeah, and you know, there were a lot of people on the whole Oscars thing last weekend. So, you know, everybody's like, oh, Jamie Lee Curtis shouldn't get this Best Supporting Actress, which, you know, Lee Curtis doesn't care what anyone thinks about what she's doing. But I did watch it, and Tim and I were, you know, because we knew the debate on, you know, people felt like Stephanie, is it Sue, or I think that's how you say her last name,
Maybe.
should have gotten Best Supporting Actress over over Jamie Lee Curtis for that movie. And you know, I don't
I think Jamie Lee did a better job.
yeah, I just, you know, I'm on the fence about it, but we both agreed that there someday Angela Bassett should win an Oscar. She's a very talented actress, but
Mhm.
Black Panther was probably not the movie to win that Oscar because it just she's done better work than that.
Definitely.
And so it's like she's gonna win an Oscar. I actually am a huge fan of her work. We literally watch this goofy show 911 every time it's on just because we want to see what they write for her to do next. As well as yeah, that show's another one where it's kind of ridiculous in the most fun way. But definitely was just kind of like, I could see why people are debating this, but it's not that big a deal. It's not the end of the
Yeah, I
world.
mean, occasionally, one reason I generally don't get that excited about the uh, Oscars is it's a total old boys club to the point where you can kind of gauge the politics behind a lot of the things. And so I've seen a few times where an actor gets one of the rewards where it's not their best work, but you get the feeling that they're giving it as not a consolation prize, but kind of a recognition of a great career prize.
Oh, I gotcha.
And so,
Yeah.
not putting down Jamie Lee Curtis's performance, but I can hypothesize a little bit of that in it in the choice.
Yeah, I thought it was a tough call because they were both amazing actresses and then we really liked the storyline. So we watched that this weekend. The movie that or the TV show we've been kind of watching a lot is that kind of came out of nowhere that we're really enjoying is that show Poker Face with Natasha Lyonne. She really she is one of those characters too who's usually like when she's in a role she's kind of just playing Natasha Lyonne, or if that's not how she really is in person, it's how she kind of generalized like her presence on screen. But she's actually in this one she's still her acting style, but she shows a lot more diversity in or stretch than I've ever seen from her. And the writing is amazing. There are all of these guest stars that you're just like, what? You guys got this person in here and this person's on this? And there was actually some surprising plot twists, which were super fun too. The first episode you think it's going to be one thing and then you go to the next and you're like, well, this is not what I thought it was going to be. But so that's a recap of my my current television and movie viewing.
Did you see her in the last series she did called Russian Doll?
Yep, we watched that was some amazing writing and acting. She did really great in that. I was just surprised to see her show so much more range in this show because, she kind of always plays that kind of, and she still plays that in this. This is her strength, kind of that tough attitude, take no crap from anybody person. So she's a little bit of that in this, but she does show there seems to be more complexity than this. But she was also in Orange is the New Black, and she was really good. Yeah. But I recommend Poker Face. It was a good show. Well, we're actually still watching it. Anything else that I have to say? Oh, we were talking about surrealism, and I'm trying to finish this. So, update on the children's book. I plotted it out using Canva. And what I did is I actually used their little clip art to kind of plot where I wanted. You would be so pleased with me, Mark, for I'm doing all this planning before I even start drawing. It's like I was like, Mark would be so proud of me. But I decided ultimately that the book, I'm still going to do it, but I'm going to push the book out to be released in October to give me plenty of time to do it. And I had been working on my short story collection. Sorry, guys, I'm going to cough. And so I decided that the most requests I get are people asking me to write adult fiction again. And this is a children's book. And so I feel like I need to give the people who are asking me to deliver
write.
writing to them
Yeah.
in the genre and the age range that they want. So I am finishing the editing on a short story collection. But one of the stories, I had written out like a 1,500 word outline where I basically just told the story. So it was like, this is the story, this is what happened, but it wasn't really a story, it's just an outline. And so I was just sitting there and I was just having the worst time with it. And then finally I kind of did what you said by just like putting a flower on top of a cat's head. I just started like putting, going in that place in my mind where stories come from, and just started just imagining weird and absurd things. And then finally this story started coming out. And I finished it this weekend. It clocked in at right at 7,500 words. Of course, that's a first draft, so it may end up being significantly less or a couple thousand more. We'll see how it goes. I have a tendency to write novellas if I don't restrain myself.
Mhm.
Well,
But
I always
yeah,
think that most people, when they're writing for the first time, they tend to rush it and they don't put in enough detail. There can always be more
yeah,
detail.
yeah. I am.
I mean, you
I
can be old Ernest Hemingway and say, oh, I keep it down to a minimum, but I gotta, oh, go on. I'm
No,
running.
you're fine. No, I'm definitely not an Ernest Hemingway, but I I don't know. You can't win. Sometimes people are like, too much detail, not enough detail, or whatever. So you kind of have to come to a point where between you and your editor, you just make a decision and you stick to it. That's what this is the story I'm telling, and this is my style. But so the story is called Pumpkinhead Scissors Will Always Kill You, and it delivers. Because the title of the short story collection is Bizarre Stories for Proper Ladies. And of course, all of the stories are kind of bizarre. Definitely not for proper ladies, though. But we'll see how it goes. I'm doing that. That's why I haven't finished these tarot cards. Because I knew art wise, it's actually I can make art faster than I can write. And so I kind of had to set aside this time during the weekends and after work to work on that. So that's what I've been up to. But thankful so much for Epic Sketch, because it means I sit my butt on my little stool over here and paint at least 1 hour a week,
When-
if nothing else. How for technical, to talk about a little technical tip, when you're painting an animal that is all black, what colors do you use to accentuate
What I do
their
is I use cobalt blue as a base, and then I paint over it in black in the second wash, so that I can have
Ooh,
the outlines and details by
okay.
the parts that I don't paint over.
Okay. That is good to know, because I'm trying to figure out how to make this little puppy. I will do that next time. Because I have already.
I'm sorry, not cobalt blue, Prussian blue.
I don't
Well,
know if I have Prussian blue. I have to
now,
look.
now, are you doing fur in black?
I'm doing a little bit. I used a gunmetal black, which gives it a sheen. But currently I'm outlining him in purple and blue, but I got to put this, and I think I was going to do more of the outline in black. What do you think? He's a little black pug.
I tend to, and I'll show you what I do. I like to be very minimalistic. I'll go into these cats that I did. You know me, I don't like to do a lot of work.
You've just been doing this a long time. You work smarter, not harder. That is not a bad thing at all.
Okay, so. Cats, cats, cats. So in this one, there were, when you're dealing with tuxedo cats, it's really easy just to use the whiskers and the little patches of white hair to work the definition. But I also was picking very interesting silhouettes. On the tail, you'll notice that on the inside curve, it's all smooth. And on the outside curve, that's where I added the hair. I didn't add the hair on the inside because the hair is pushing against, the tips are pushing against the inside of the table of the chip. So there's no reason that you would see the fur line. It's only because that part of the tail is really curvy and the fur is not lying flat that I decided to do that. I also did that to accent the fact that the only other places where his hair is sticking out like that is right up here.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, he's smooth. Let's take a look at another one. Here, I was using just little accents to show, I'm going to quickly draw on this, the red pen. This is where his shoulder was. So I imagined this, oh, why aren't you working? Oh, wrong color. I imagined this as where his shoulder was, and this is where his arm was going down. But rather than draw a line there, I just started with the strokes going in this direction.
Oh, got you.
So you could do the same thing with your paintbrush. I'm going to choose a larger brush to show this. Start heavy and go lighter. And then go back with a layer of black. And then paint the edge.
Oh, gotcha.
Then paint that edge black. And you can see how I'm creating an edge over here without actually painting an edge, because that's where all the highlight points are coming from. So I did that at various points. Like you could see this is the edge of his cheek. You could see that this is that crinkle in his nose. You could see that this is the other edge. So if you strategically figure out where the muscle mass is and add just a little bit, very tiny highlights, the overall effect really works at a distance.
Okay.
So that's one way of doing it. And another way is to pick a slightly grayish shade and do a whole area as being lit. Like here's the top of his paw. Whoops. Come on. There up. So the light source is coming from this direction. And so this whole side of him is in shadow. So I know that everything this side over is just going to be black and I'm not going to touch it. And then over on this side, I just have that slightly lighter black, but not much, just a hint. And I used where I wanted to have just a little bit more sheen. Then I added in those little lines that I wanted. But from a distance, when you look at it, you can see the depth of that. And it does kind of make his coat look nice and shiny. Let's see what another trick I used. Here's the same trick again, determining the muscle masses. Here's that shoulder of the cat. Here's his neck. Here's the shape around his nose. That little bit of his mouth and cheeks right there. And then because his head was highlighted with light, I did that little section. Let's see. This cat had no rough edges, but you can see that once again, I just did body highlights. A little bit on his leg right there. His rib cage. And his armpit leading up to his arm, where his chest is at. And a little bit right here on the rump. And then this line coming down over to, that was making up his forehead. And just a little bit on the top of that paw, just to kind of highlight the top of it. A little bit on the tip there. But yeah, I was going for, and I've made that cat into a magnet. And he sells. This cat did the same thing with him. There's his cheekbone. Right. Oh, come on, why isn't that showing up? Oh, wrong layer. Always with the layers. So there's his cheekbone. There's his nose. There's the edge of his eye over here, at the edge of his eye over there. The edge of his face. Right there. This. Top of the head highlight. Then this is his tail curving in underneath. These are, his paws. When you see this pillow, this guy sent me a photograph of his cat in the same position, sitting in front of this pillow with the same expression on his face, looking at the camera. It looks like there's two cats.
Yeah.
And it's because because the highlights on his cats were in the exact same place. So, but really, I'm not doing a whole lot here. I'm really going for as minimalistic of an approach as possible. And so that's what you can do. I would say less is more when it comes to working with a black.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, I just added some gray and that added some depth. And then I use one of my Posca pens, which is definitely a different color than the other acrylic paint. And I'll go back in again once this dries and paint it a little, paint it again a little bit. Yeah,
This is
it's sometimes it can be tough.
because there was so much happening with this guy's expression, I spent a little bit more time adding in the highlights on the lines here. And even going as far as to make sure that I got the double row of little whiskers kind of emphasized. And towards the end, I was really figuring out how to color cat's eyes. That was a fun exercise. Anyway, so I never finished this one. This little kitten was just being too much torture for me.
Oh,
Oh,
This is this was what I was going for, but oh my God, he was going the other way. He was turning into this dark kitty. And I realized at this point I had dropped 4 hours into this cat,
oh no.
and I'm kind of going, okay, I gotta stop. It's not coming across as cute and cuddly and fuzzy as I wanted it to. And at some point you have to pull the plug.
Yeah. No, it happens. Like that's and or you have to just go do something else because something is, frustrating you so bad. Because if you just sit there and keep fighting it, it's
Like this cat, I finally pulled, I consider this done only because I couldn't solve problems with it. Now, you and Bill might look at it and say, oh, it looks just fine.
yes.
But
Yes, we might.
But to me, those eyes and the nose and the tongue are standing out so much on that orange. To me, it looks problematic. But then I thought, you know what? And I actually thought this, I'm overthinking this. I'm going to do the Katie thing and just make them glaringly obvious. Because her work is perfectly fine. Her work is great. This is fine. This is great. I'm going to call this good. And they loved it. So I'm kind of going, okay. But like you, Katie, there are times when I feel like I could spend more time and try to make it better. And no, just.
Yeah, I know it's tough. Like I sometimes listen to like YouTube videos from creators and stuff, and everybody has their own philosophy on creating their own their own perception of their own work and other people's work, and but I think at the end of the day it's like whatever makes you feel good is going to come through. Like one of my coworkers, she's actually trying to commission me to do a piece for her, but I am just like, I don't know about commissioning. It's just like I can't write stories for hire. I've written 2 stories for hire for like anthologies, and it was just too stressful for me. But she was saying, she's like, you're not some amazing technical artist. She's like, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but you're not. Like, but what you do is you evoke emotion in things when people see them. Usually it's a happy emotion. And she's like, and that's all you really have to do with art to make it good. Because I had painted her something as a gift. And she's like, and every day that I look at that picture, she's like, people come into my house and they don't know you. So it's not just me because I know you. It's like it evokes something. So that's like, to me, I'm trying to just think of that as a positive, as my strength, is if even if it doesn't look perfect, if it evokes something in someone, usually I like to evoke positive vibes from people, but then I've done a good job. I'm just I've just done a good job. And if I had a good time doing it, that makes it an even better job in my. But see, I'm not a professional artist like you, Mark. This is your living. Like that's like, you saying I don't want to work harder. Well, if I was doing this for my livelihood, I think I would be more motivated to figure out easier ways to do things so that I could, work more without exhausting myself, instead of being the amateur that I am and I keep making the same mistakes.
Oh, believe me, professionals keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. Since we tend to get paid for it. So believe it or not, folks. Yes, it's true. Another hour has gone by of epic sketch time, even though we did get a late start. That at least it happened this week. Again, my
Woohoo!
apologies last week. That I really need to pay a little bit more attention to the clock on Tuesdays. And I didn't put out enough notices for Eventbrite. So my apologies to the people on Eventbrite who didn't get a timely reminder. But this is what you get for a totally free ad hoc service.
Which we appreciate, Mark. I look forward to this every week. And it's always nice when we have more people, but this
Well, I thought,
feels a happy spot.
if I wanted to do lessons, I would charge for lessons, right?
Yeah.
And I have done private tutoring lessons, $100 for an hour, and that gives one-on-one time. If it's when I switched that over to $60 an hour when it was 2 individuals coming in at the same time, but really I find one-on-one is a great way of doing it. And did that for about 1.5 years with one guy, and he said it really changed his thinking. But honestly, we had to start with a lot of the basics, like learning what tertiary, color theory, basic ways of how to draw things that you think you knew. But when I said, okay, you say you know that, but I want you to do it. Says, tell me how to do that again. I forgot.
Well, yes, I definitely appreciate these. I really enjoy working with you and Bill every week.
Well, people, thank you again. And let me do a quick look at the calendar to see what's up for next week.
Okay.
Next week is the 28th. I don't have anything else scheduled that's going to compete with this. But if it does, I'll let you know. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week on the April 28th
Okay.
at 4:30.
Bye.
Bye, all.